to secure the business in today's platform, we feel is a fundamental shift that we need to have in our security approach. And that fundamental shift we are terming as an intelligence-driven security. You could term it as any other name. It really does not matter, as long as we get the essence of what we are trying to say is the way we have been doing security all this while. We need to rethink about it, have a good hard look into that approach, and see how that approach can plug in the gaps that we have in identifying the security threats that we need to address. So with that background in place, I would like to go into the approach that we have devised to plug in the gaps and bring up our capabilities, if not, and to the extent where we are trying to say that we should have better detection capabilities than the fraudsters' attack capabilities, right? So that's the time when we would be in a position to say that we are a step ahead of the fraudsters, and that is what is the goal of this approach that we are trying to take. So the approach really is based upon certain key principles. The first key principle is around visibility. If I do not know what is happening, of course I will not be able to detect it. Okay. And how do I know what is happening? Is by seeing and is by having the capability to collect as much detailed data as we have about what our business is and how our businesses are being run, and on what infrastructure our businesses run, and what is the present state of that particular infrastructure. So what visibility means is that we need to be able to collect all the necessary data points for us to be able to identify and understand every bit of activity that is going on within our organization. So it could be the identities who are coming into the digital identity that is coming and transacting. What are these digital identities? Who is the physical person behind this digital identity? What is the data that they are working on? How are they manipulating with the data? What are the applications that this data is being transacted on? So collect all the data and get a visibility into all the data around what really matters. And that matters is like people, process, and the technology and the infrastructure, and all of those data points that is necessary for me to understand what is going on is what we term as visibility. Today, what we know is that we have pretty limited visibility into what is going on. At any point of time, I really will not be in a position to say what is the kind of data that is flowing between my server and my database, or between my server and the external world, or from one PC to another PC, and so on and so forth. We really do not have understanding of if I want to do it, there isn't any tools, there isn't any capability built in for me to look into that particular information. Once I have looked into the information, once I have built, let's say, a capability to look and collect all this information, it's not really sufficient, because it is humanly impossible to look into all of these data and try and figure out some sense of it. And hence, the next layer is what is an extremely important layer of being able to analyze the data that I have collected. So analysis is going to turn this data that we collect into some intelligence, into some actionable intelligence. We need to be able to understand how our normal state looks like and quickly spot the deviations from this normal, and then indicate the threats or malicious activity. And this we can do only when we have a capability to analyze the data in respect to a context, in respect to what is going on, in respect to the risks, and then it would make much a better sense for me to look into those anomalies. And once we look into those anomalies, we will be in a position to find out those incidents as well. Right? So analysis ensures that whatever we have collected is transformed into an actionable intelligence. But that intelligence itself now needs to be transformed into a particular action. Right. So the final phase is where we are in our ability to take rapid action based upon our analysis, and thereby enabling the business to protect itself from the damage or the loss. Right, so three simple phases of how the intelligence-driven security is really all about is one, create a platform where I can see everything, create a platform where I can analyze whatever I have seen, and create another platform where whatever I have understood is transformed into an act, and that act will stop the security incidents. The intention of that act is to stop security. And all of these need to be working in a context. So not every incident is important to me to be closed. Not every incident is a priority as of today, but every incident might be an indicator of a bigger incident. So in respect of the business and in respect of the risk, take all of these actions into context. Right, so that's the intelligence-driven security approach that we wanted to put forth in a simplistic manner. Now, once we have these, what we want to, achieve out of this approach is to make sure that if there are any gaps in any of these, because these are pretty high-level statements of have visibility across everything, have analysis about, do analysis across everything, and act on every incident. It does cover all the gamut of activities that I need to do from a security perspective. So, but this has to be translated into specific capabilities, right? So from an analysis perspective, what we have gone ahead and done is, created a whole range of technologies from different aspects and acquired those technologies as well as developed few of them from within the organization and expanding our portfolio to offer those key capabilities that is required for the intelligence-driven security. The early acquisitions that we did around 2005, 2006, that gave us a foundation for visibility into applications and the flow of the data across networks in the form of adaptive authentication and in the form of data loss prevention activities. At some point of time, we added our reporting and governance capabilities to gain visibility into risks and a platform to drive and automate action across the enterprise. And the very recent acquisitions that we did in the last 1 or 2 years was focused on giving us granular visibility and analysis capability, which are required for today's sophisticated threats across networks, applications, and endpoints. And in most recent acquisitions, that has helped us strengthen our identity capabilities, capabilities to assure and manage the identities. And that's one of the strongest or the most important criteria around the third platform, that is managing and making sure that the identities that are using this infrastructure is so over a period of time we have been able to create a whole bunch of technologies synergize with each other to deliver this intelligence-driven security platform that we want to spend time on. Going a little deeper into what this is all about and how they are structured, all these tools that we have acquired and built over a period of time, how they are structured. It starts off with identity, right? Once we have a good understanding of what are the different kind of people who would require access to our systems, that is where the identity comes into picture. So identity is authenticated first and then authorized to look into the data. So that's where it starts off in terms of the process. So it starts with identities. We authenticate users, make sure that they are who they are before we grant them access to data and applications. We are making it more and more simple for users to authenticate on the platform of their choice using methods of their choice. So it's not just a token that we talked about at one point of time. It was just the one-time password that we used to talk about on the hardware token. But today we have increased that capability to include software tokens, include risk-based authentication, and very soon we would be introducing even more intuitive technologies for our ability to authenticate. In certain cases, we have included things like device-based authentication, etc., or callback authentication. So there's a number of different ways which makes most sense in that particular access things. So we have delivered a single consistent way to manage and govern these user identities access them across both the on-premise as well as cloud environment. For example, if you're accessing your Outlook on an on-premise method, or you're using Office 365, the same identity and the policies governing that identity will seamlessly work across both your on-prem solution as well as your cloud solution. So from access request perspective, from provisioning and deprovisioning of entitlements, reviews of those access, etc., we help you drive efficiency and increase security and compliance within the identity block. Moving to the next level, we deliver consistent, comprehensive visibility that we get from collecting as much data as we can about people and the flow of data across cloud and on-prem environments. And this data consists of the audit trail that is being generated by these applications. We are looking into the actual traffic that is flowing within the organization. We're looking into net flow data. We're looking into the endpoint data, the identity data, the threat and vulnerability data, the risk data, etc. All of these data are being put into the data collection block and applying the analytics on top of it. So once we have collected a particular data, you should be able to drive complete information around that data. For example, when you want to search an activity, let's say from an IP address or a user or an application or a domain name, you want to make sure that the totality of that security data available across your enterprise, regardless of where it came from, is in your fingertips. So if you go ahead and see a route in a particular audit trail, I should be able to pinpoint and say this route means Sudeep. This route means these are the applications which could have got modified by this route. This route means in this particular shift, it is not Sudeep, but it is Prashant. So the totality of the information, when we look into a particular data that we have collected, of making these relationships, that has to be made available to make sure that there is complete visibility of that information. Right? And of course, as we explained earlier, visibility is just not enough. Visibility has to be supported by a robust set of analytics engines, which will help me spot the threats, detect the frauds, assess compliance, or just review how the users are behaving so that we can identify anomalies. So we combine visibility and analysis into a comprehensive understanding of application systems and end user behaviors to identify what is the problem going on. And by making sure that we have one system of this analytics with different capabilities and different data points on which we are working, it helps us and gives much better ability to spot anomalies, and that signifies attacks or problems and frees us from the traditional signature-based approaches that we have been seeing as to be as ineffective as we move forward. Right? So that's where the analytics with different viewpoints helps us identify the attacks. And once we have all of these technical things being addressed, we need to be able to map it to the business requirements, and that is where the GRC solutions helps me as a single place where I would be managing these risks, driving the action, and driving my compliances. So an effective GRC practice gives you that business context and insight you need to be able to prioritize your security activities and efforts that makes it brings in the greatest difference between whether you are spending time on meaningful things or you are just spending time doing a job. Right? So in this particular integrated stack, you see that all of these elements feed into each other. They help each other drive that maximum value that you need to from your security program. And that's what is the security approach that, or the experience-driven approach that we want to talk about. Now, I want to take some time to just sit back and try and analyze the same approach with respect to a particular incident and how all these different kind of data points that we talked about and how this analysis that we talked about really is going to solve my problem of identifying security incidents in a more comprehensive manner. Right. To do that, let's just take a very, very simplistic example where I have a particular system, let's say this particular system is Sorry, I am my annotation. So this particular system is compromised and it is talking to a system on the outside world through my network. So the first thing that my audit trails that will tell me that, okay, the logs out there would say that this particular system is talking to a bad guy out there. And that bad guy, how do I know who is the bad guy? Well, somebody told me that it's a command and control center. Somebody already identified it as a command and control center or a already hacked system, a bad domain or a bad reputation. And so that tells me, yes, something is wrong. So the logs, the audit trails, and the intelligence is the first level which tells me, well, there is something which is of concern to me. What is really the concern? Is it really that this guy communicated that is my problem, or is it some data that went out, or is it some malicious code that got downloaded, or did I upload some data that I shouldn't have uploaded? Now, how do I find that out? Well, if I go ahead and look into the transaction that this system did with that particular IP address, most probably I'll be able to see the data that was carried between these two systems, right? So that is where we go ahead and say, okay, let's go and look into the actual transaction, and that is where the packets come into picture. So we have seen the audit trails, the log told me that there was some activity went on. The packets would tell me what was the data that really flowed in this. And once I have the packet and I see the payload which actually got exchanged between number one and the compromised system and the outside world, and if the payload really looks to be malicious, the payload looks to be suspicious or something of concern, then I can go ahead and say, yes, this particular communication is something that I really need to go and tick mark as an incident. But then is that the end of my analysis? Well, we can always assume that if one system has gone compromised, there will be other systems that would have also got compromised. Now, what is the level of compromise that has happened? I need to go deeper into this particular system to find out what is really the level of compromise. So I start analyzing the system for its behavior and start seeing what were the other systems with which it communicated in the last few months, few days, few hours. So we could broaden our search based upon what really is the impact. And we can start seeing who all it communicated with. Now, ideally, who all it communicated with would be the data, would be all the transaction or the traffic that flowed between these systems and the other systems. Now, if I have to go ahead and do my packet analysis of all my internal communication, that can really become very, very painful and very, very costly. So a more efficient, or might say a more easy way to do it is just to make sure that we look into the net flow data, right? The net flow data is basically the header data of all this communication. And once we see the header data of all the communication, I would know exactly with whom he communicated, and then start focusing only on those systems with which it communicated in the last point of interest. And then go deeper into all of those systems and see if these systems exhibited similar characters as the original system. And that is where we do my endpoint analysis and find out what is the lateral movement of the malicious activities that has happened across my networks. And that activity, that analysis helps me understand, okay, here is the infectious system from where we picked up the original attack, but these are also the potential sleeper cells within my organization. These are the potential botnet infections that has already happened, or potential systems which might still carry the malicious software, and try and focus my action at the next level across all of these systems that I have identified as part of my analysis that we did here. So a simple incident identification that happens using the logs with the power of the actual transaction data, with the power of my capability to look into the endpoints and how those endpoints are behaving, with my power to look into all the transactions, all the activities that have happened within the infrastructure, I get to see a lot deeper into how the infection has already happened. In this, I have not added things like who was the primary person who was doing those activities at that point of time, who were logged on to the systems. Are those people also the initial attack that happened was part of some social activity, some phishing attack, or was it some mail that they got? How did they? So the user identities and what all these identities access and how they behaved, etc., is the next level of analysis that we need to do to make sure that this incident is fully analyzed and fully covered. Right. So keeping this example in mind. And the data points that we collected and the analysis that we did to identify the full extent of the attack is what is going to make sure that we are in a much better position to identify the attacks, take effective actions to clean out these attacks and stop attacks from happening in the future, which would be taking similar kind of approach. So what we did in terms of all these different data points, if I have to look into a tool perspective, what we have done from an RSA perspective is created a platform wherein I pick up all this information, the data around the audit trails, the application data, the system data, the network data, the configuration data, push them into an analysis engine, which I have depicted here as a big data analysis engine. Push all of these into this platform, which is doing effective analysis across different analysis engine. It might be a stream analysis, might be a SQL analysis, or a big data analysis, and help this analyst with some third-party intelligence as well. So public and private threat intelligence is a feed that we're talking about that gets fed into this analysis engine, which helps me identify or be ready with the data that already people have already identified and just reuse that data within my organization as well. The different analysis engines that helps me visualize the data, investigate the data, slice and dice the data, alert on them, report on them, and of course respond on them. And all of these responses and all is governed by a particular process so that it becomes repeatable. The process makes sure that I am covering it in the right manner, in a right procedural manner, so that it's not people dependent, but the overall organization DNA knows how to address those securities. So the entire platform provides all those tools under a single framework of solutions to make sure that the intelligence-driven approach that we have been talking about is actually delivered in a repeatable manner, in an efficient manner, and in a predictive manner. So that's the tool that what we're talking about is the heart of what RSA we tend to term as the advanced SOC technologies, and the platform that we just talked about is the RSA Security Analytics. Similarly, there are other platforms that looks into the other different aspects that we talked about, for example, identities and all. And just if I have to give you a view of this entire product portfolio with their names, the identity access management portfolio is addressed by products known as Secure ID, which is the two-factor or the multi-factor authentication systems. The adaptive authentication, which addresses multi-layer authentication, step-up authentication based upon a particular risk portfolio, and the identity management and governance toolkit, which provides me provisioning, deprovisioning, access governance, etc. kind of things. There is also the access management solution and the federated identity management solution, which provides me with single sign-on capabilities and federation capabilities across on-prem and the cloud organizations. We have added a whole bunch of, as I mentioned in my earlier slide, we've added a whole bunch of new technologies that we acquired in the recent few years to make sure that we have now one of the most comprehensive identity and access management security portfolio built within the industry. And the monitoring and analytics part, I just discussed about the security analytics platform. That's what is one of the major product lines within the monitoring and analytics block, along with the ECAT solution, which focuses on the endpoint analysis, web threat detection, which looks into the web application design flaws, monitors web applications and user behavior on e-commerce sites or online transaction sites, and make sure that we identify user behavior in a manner which is both at an infrastructure layer as well as at a behavior layer. There are services that we run in terms of policing and finding out if the bad guys are doing something in the outside world. So we go ahead and monitor the internet for any activities that might be targeted against a particular organization. So we do a whole bunch of research and we do a whole bunch of collaboration around this field to find out if there is any fraud going on out there, and those frauds are directed against our customers. And to top of all these product lines, we have the governance, risk, and compliance product line, which is the Archer toolsuit, which helps me consolidate all of these information and allows me to report on it, visualize it, keep a track of everything that is happening. It addresses both IT and security risks, regulatory and corporate compliances, operational and enterprise risks, business resiliency, audit, third-party vendor risk, a whole bunch of those security processes that we are really bothered about comes inbuilt into this particular platform of the GRC. So that's what is the topmost block that I have discussed here. So what does this really help? It is risk driven. Every activity that we do is based upon the context, is based upon the business requirement, is based upon the risk, so that we can prioritize what we need to spend time on. It's a framework in which we can slowly build the capabilities. Not every capability needs to be built on the day zero. If I start off with audit trails, maybe I'll put my next flow in the next phase. Maybe I'll put my packet in the next phase. Maybe I'll start with GRC with just the IT security and then move on to operational security. Maybe on the identity, I'll do only my enterprise applications and then move over to the cloud applications. So the entire framework and the solutions and the products are built in such a manner that we can build incrementally and build the maturity as is convenient within the organization. It's built on an open platform, and hence I can very seamlessly plug in newer things, and that makes it a future-proof platform. It enables responses to the changes in the landscape in much more seamless manner, primarily because of the open nature of the toolset that we have built. And because it is open, hence we are in a better position to quickly embed newer technologies, newer capabilities into the platform, and makes it agile and ready for the new technologies and the newer IT opportunities that we are creating. So that's what is the intelligence-driven approach, which helps us be ready for future and make sure that our capabilities of today is at least, if not better, at par with the capabilities of the fraudsters that we want to defend our organizations against. So with that, I'll come to my last slide. That's my last slide of our presentation, and we can open up for any questions or any comments that our valued participants would like to share with us.
Thank you so much, Sudhi, for the informative session. Yes, I would request everyone, if they have any questions, they can just type it in the chat box, and we'll be raising it one by one. In the meanwhile, I have one question from Mr. Kashinath. He's asking, is this also recognize changes in policy or the rule in the device?
I'm sorry, can you come again?
Is this also recognize changes in policy or rules in the device?
Absolutely. I think, as we move into the different kind of data points that we now are in a position to analyze, the rule sets will have to enhance. So the older rules are not going away. The older capabilities around blocking IP addresses, that's not going off. But we are going to augment those rules. We are going to augment those policies with the newer data points and the newer capabilities that we have. So yes, it definitely needs enhancement of those rules and policies. So just like IT security policy earlier was about making sure that the perimeter was good, and now we have a policy around our BYOD, or we have a policy around remote access. So the older policies are not going away, but it needs to be augmented with the newer capabilities and the newer policies.
Thank you, Sudeep. The next question is from Mr. Kamal Khanna. He's asking, are these solutions offered as a SLA-driven service, either on premises or through cloud?
Right. So there are different kind of SLAs that could really be looked into, right? And these SLAs are defined for any security. It is one of the things that we have identified, that we have to identify what is the efficacy of these solutions that we are going to put in. So yes, there are SLAs, and there are SLAs not only in terms of the uptime or the response time of these solutions, but also what is the effectiveness of these solutions. So we have defined various key performance indicators around this. Of course, there are no SLAs like I will stop 100% of attacks. Well, so that kind of SLA will never be there. But then if there is a particular security incident, the SLA could be that, yes, I would have detailed information about a particular period of time in which I can really go deeper down, and they would help me to go ahead and identify the situation in which that incident happened. So yes, we have defined multiple KPIs and KRIs that we track at the GRC layer, whether that's where it is much easier to define the metrics and report on them. And there are comprehensive set of dashboards that are designed for SLA tracking for all these tools.
In addition, Mr. Kamal Khanna is asking, can the KPIs be shared with us on email?
Yeah, it could be, definitely it could be. No, I can send out a few of the KPIs that we have defined as an out-of-box stuff.
Okay. Next question is from Mr. Umesh. How multi-factor authentication works, and how good it is when two-factor authentication?
Well, multi-factor is a terminology that has been coined where we are. So one-factor, two-factor, and three-factor is very, very rigidly designed, right? Rigidly defined. That is, one-factor means something that you know. Other factor is something that you are, and the other factor is the third factor could be something that you are. Now, any combination of those two becomes two-factor, and any combination of all three, or that is when you have all the three, that is what you know, what you are, and what you have, then it becomes a three-factor solution. Now, we need to be in a position where we want to make sure that I could change the factors, and whatever is the most appropriate at that point of time, I pop up. For example, what I do may not be a factor as defined within this 1, 2, 3 factors, right? So what I do becomes a multi-factor solution, which means I'm going to look into the behavior change and then say I will do some extra authentication, or from where am I coming? From which location am I coming? At what time am I coming? So when I start taking the environmental conditions into consideration, which not only identifies what is the risk, but also identifies who I am. For example, which device have I logged in from? When I start taking these things into consideration, then the domain of multi-factor authentication starts popping up. And that multi-factor authentication domain is a combination of who I am, where am I coming from, what am I doing, what do I have, what do I know, etc., etc. So a combination of all of these makes it the multi-factor. And what is good about the multi-factor thing is that fraudsters know that either there is a two-factor or a three-factor or a single-factor authentication. In the multi-factor scenario, the fraudster will not be in a position to guess what are the factors which are really going to be used. So it becomes more difficult for the fraudsters to plan for a multi-factor enabled organization.
I think in addition, Mr. Umesh, I think can we customize it accordingly?
Yes, that's one of the design approaches that we have in this, in the entire approach. Customization needs to be there based upon organization requirements. It needs to be, as I said, agile in nature. So yes, customization is one of the basic design parameters on which the entire framework has been built.
Okay, our next question is from Mr. Shiva Kumar. What is the committed delivery of this offering? Can we commit nearly 100% secured environment to the business during the tenure of the engagement phase up to 3 years?
So that's what I said, right? Even earlier, there cannot be any terminology which says 100% secure, right? Instead of 100%, if I say 90, can I commit to a 90%? Even that I cannot commit. Can I say it is 0% or 10%? Even that I cannot commit, right? So the product and the tool suite and the entire gamut of things which are there is available as a product today, and it is doing what it is doing for multiple organizations. It is something like I can see, but am I really picking up what I am seeing into actionable intelligence? It's really based upon how I've deployed it. It's really based upon what are the policies that I'm driving it. What I can commit to is that if the tool is ready and it delivers those functionalities that it has been designed to deliver, and they are productized and they are good reference cases for each of the product lines that I talked about. On chat window, I have a question which talks about what are the known best practices to help reduce the window of vulnerability by enterprises. That's a great question. In terms of reducing the window of vulnerability is where the analysis really comes into picture. So once I have all the data that I have been capturing now, if there are no gaps in the data that I have captured, and I am in a position to analyze the data using the various methodologies that are there, that helps me create that intelligence. So the quicker I have the intelligence, the shorter would be the vulnerability window. So that framework itself, the intelligence-driven framework's approach is to make sure that we have capability to minimize this vulnerability window as much as possible and take corrective actions in the most comprehensive manner as quickly as possible.
Okay. Our next question is from Mr. Gopinath. How context-aware is the RSS solution? Can the tool differently user behavior from different data launch points?
Yes, that's one of the very, very important capabilities that we had to build. The data from where, the context from where I need the sources from where I pick up the context needs to be as varied as possible. The context could be an audit trail from an application, or an audit trail from a switch, or an audit trail from a database, or a configuration file sitting at the firewall, or a configuration file, or a state of identity within the organization. For example, the HRMS data might say that the person is on leave today, and that ID is available as a audit trail, right? So Sudeep is on leave, but Sudeep is logging into a Unix system. So the context that I get from the identity management system needs to be available for me to do my analysis. So the idea was to make sure that theoretically any source of data could be used and consumed by the security analytics platform to build the context around which I could put in my rules and my anomaly detection. And these are already available out of box for many, many technologies.
So I'm returning back to Mr. Kashinath. He's asking, he actually needs some clarification. It seems that this tool is like SIEM tool. Please correct me if he's wrong.
Well, we call this the next generation of the SIM platform. According to analysts, the predecessor of SIM was the intrusion detection systems. So the intrusion detection systems were also looking into a certain kind of data points to find out incidents. SIM improved upon it by looking into the audit trails and then augment the IDS capabilities to identify more incidents. This is the next generation of the tool set which a lot of analysts are seeing as the security analytics platform, in which we are looking into data that the SIM has collected, data that the IDS has collected, and the rest of the other data in terms of packet information, in terms of endpoint information, in terms of risk information, DLP information, and all of those. So yes, it is the next, or what Gartner likes to say is the lean forward movement of SIM. So this platform has all the capabilities of a SIM, more than IDS, and adds on to those capabilities to fill in the gaps that we have seen in our capabilities.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, can we use the platform to work with other vendors? Example, like log data is analyzed by the solution from one vendor, packet analysis performed by another, and GRC from RSA, or any combination therein.
Right. So as I mentioned, what RSA's design principle was to make it an open platform. It is built to be interoperable and use the existing technologies that the enterprise has already invested in. So if an organization has already invested in a SIM platform, and I want to do the rest of the solutions using RSA, we go ahead and interoperate with those. So it could be any combination of solutions from different vendors, and our open platform allows me to talk to each other and have information sharing done in a seamless manner, so as to make sure that whatever investments organizations has put, we start from there and move to the next level. So yes, what the question asks us around, we are in a fully ready position to work with other vendors, solutions from other vendors as well.
Okay. How often do you update the intelligence data within your system?
Well, I talked about the RSA research that is there. So we have a pretty dedicated team of analysts which are not only looking into general frauds, but dedicated around BFSI segment, the banking segment. So these people, these analysts focus on identification of malware and the botnets and the trojans and all of these, and we also collaborate with third-party analyst firms, and we put all of these data together and feed it in the form of a feed. So there is a continuous stream of intelligence update that we provide, not only in the form of this intelligence that we are getting, but also in the form of newer capabilities. For example, I have got a new report, or I have got a new out-of-box tool, or have integration that I have developed with another technology. All of these data are continuously updated in the form of a feed into the system. So it's pretty continuous and pretty up to date all the time.
Oh, that's very nice. So next question is from Mr. Balram Chaudhary. Which platform do you use for analytics?
So presently we have three platforms within the security analytics that we use. One is the normal SQL query platform, which is the basic query analysis, pretty much what the SIM technologies earlier used to use. So that analytics platform. The second one is what we have introduced as an event stream analysis platform, which is built on an open source technology known as Esper. So Esper allows me to stream the data through my analysis engine. This is primarily used for my real-time analysis. So without having to write the data onto the database and then reading on it, I can use event stream analysis to analyze that particular data. And the third platform that we use for analysis is the Hadoop platform, on which we use Hawk to write my queries for trending and for predictive analysis using Hawk. So Pivotal, Hadoop, event stream analysis, and normal SQL. These are the three analytics platforms that we pre-built within the security analytics platform as of today.
So, in addition to the launch of these analytics, can this be integrated with the in-house analytics like SAS or Hadoop?
Absolutely. So Hadoop, as I told, it's already integrated. The data that we collect, that same data can always be sent out to the SAS environment. It could always be sent out to any other platform that you have already built and use it from there. So these are all the entire system, at different points. I have REST services available which could be utilized to pull the data in the format that you want to format so that it could be utilized or analyzed by the systems. So yes, it is very much possible.
So here's the last question for the evening. Like, can the platform handle all these different data feeds in the same analytics framework, or we need to add more analytics engines as we add more data feeds?
So, what we created what we got as part of one of the acquisitions that we did was the NetWitness platform. The NetWitness platform's primary capability was a meta engine or a meta database, which allowed me to add in any number of columns as I wanted customized columns. So it is very, very extensible without really jeopardizing the underlying infrastructure. So as we add more data points, I could normalize all those data points to different meta information, and all this meta information can seamlessly queried within the same platform. Now, once I have all this meta information in my hand, be it in the form of a structured data or unstructured data, my different analysis engine can utilize that data. Right. So one, me being able to normalize the data so that I can query it, and what all ways I query it, what all analysis engines that I have to query it, both are extendable. Right. So today we are giving three analysis engines, as I just mentioned, as the normal SQL queries, event stream analysis using Esper, or Hadoop as a data store on which I'm using Hawk to do my queries. I could use SAS going forward. I could use some R systems going forward. When the field is pretty open out there, and the tool has been built so that it can utilize any of these analysis engines that I want to do it. So theoretically, yes, it is ready for integration for other analysis engines as well. But what we have provided is a basic minimum number of capabilities, which till date has been sufficient to look into the different use cases that we wanted to solve using this platform.
So I think those are all the questions which we have for the evening. So I would like to extend my thanks to all the participants for being here and taking out time for us. I hope this session was very informative for you. I would like to extend my thanks to Mr. Sudeep for helping us with such an informative session. Mr. Balram Chaudhary saying thank you so much, and his queries have been solved. So we look forward. If you want to say something, if you want to conclude anything.
Thank you. I think it was an excellent session, question answer session. Really appreciate all your thoughts and your comments and your queries. Please, I'll do share with the KPIs that we have, and if there are any other questions, please reach out to me directly or to our partners, and we will be able to address your requirements as well.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.